Welcome dear students and friends in this 18th lecture on Python programming, and today on your screen you can see that we are going to study about files. We are going to start a new topic today. In the last class we had studied several details regarding recursion. We had seen a number of programs, and they are very important programs. They are asked every time in every exams. Okay, so you just be very careful with all those programs, you go through it, and if you are facing any difficulty, please let me know and watch the lectures carefully. So we are going to start a new topic today, which is file handling, and you can see that there are three types of files I have mentioned. There has been a little modification in this year's syllabus, and previous year you had to study only about the text files, but this year you have to study details of binary as well as CSV files. Previously only introduction of binary files was there, not much detail, but this time you have to study details of binary and CSV files also. So we will see them, but today is only an introductory class. I will tell you about files and one of the file functions, what is opening a file, closing a file, and then we will know about read function. Okay, so this is going to be an introductory class just to give you a move. Okay, so let's start. And file, as you know, that it is nothing but a bunch of bytes, okay, which is stored on some storage device, okay, like hard drive, or it may be floppy disk, it may be your pen drive, it may be any storage device. Okay, so it is nothing but a bunch of bytes stored on a storage device. Now what is the advantage of using a file as opposed to, because you know you have studied several data structures, like you have studied dictionaries, you have studied list, so you know that those data structures are capable of storing data. Okay, but then why there is need for file? The advantage is that it can retain information permanently. Okay, so if you are writing something on a file, if you are storing it on your system, you know that you can open it, you can use it, and you can open it many times. It will be stored permanently on your system. But if you are storing something in like Python objects in data structures such as list, dictionary, then it is going to be temporary. For example, let me declare a list. So I am storing some marks of the students, let's suppose 34, 78, 89, and then I am printing this list. Okay, so once I print it, I will execute it. Okay, so I will run it, and you can see that this data has been printed. Okay, but once you close this, there is no way to store it permanently. Okay, once this program execution is over, you cannot access this L. Okay, so this is only temporary storage, but if you are writing something onto the file, then that particular data is going to be permanently on your system. Okay, so that's the difference. Now so what is how file is related to Python, what you are going to do with Python. Okay, so you know that you can open a file like this. For example, there is a file tile. Okay, so tile.txt, so there is something written on it, I am in India, I am going. So if you want, you can open it. If you want, you can change something into it. Okay, suppose you can add one more line, that I am studying. Okay, I am studying, so you can add one more line. Okay, so but there should be flexibility of doing all these things through a program. Okay, so all the programming languages offer facility to access files. Okay, so that you need not do anything manually. Suppose I tell you to create a file and write names of 1,000 cities in India, or suppose I ask you to write one sequence from 1 to 10,000, or suppose 1 to 1 lakhs, then will you write manually? Will you write like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 like that? No, it is not possible. You need to write a program, so that the program will open a file and then it will write all those numbers from 1 to 1 lakh into that particular file. Okay, so that's why there is a need to connect your program to file. And let me tell you that Python offers this flexibility. Just like other programming languages, Python also has this flexibility that you can access your files through a program. You can write a program in which you can access your file, you can read contents from it. If you want, you can write something into it. If you want, you can make modifications into it. So all those flexibilities are offered by Python programming language, just like other programming languages. So that is an advantage. That is what you are going to actually see in this particular session, or throughout this lectures on file handling. So in all those lectures I will tell you that how can you write a Python program to access your files, and not only access your files. for reading also, for writing also, for modifications also. So all those things we are going to see in upcoming 4 to 5 lectures. Okay, so I will try to devote maybe 5 to 6, or in fact maybe more than that, because this time there are binary and CSV files also. So it's going to be a very long session, and I will give you many programs related to files also that you have to practice and give me the solutions. Okay, so the 3 types of files that you are going to study are text, binary and CSV files. Okay, now what is a text file? Text file is nothing but information is stored in the form of ASCII characters. Okay, so a text file is stores information. You know about ASCII characters, you know about Unicode characters. I had taught you in class 11. So you know that any character is actually having an ASCII equivalent. Okay, so every that is a nothing but a 7-bit. In extended you have 8 bits, but in normal ASCII representation you have 7 bits for every character. For example, for T there is one ASCII one set of ASCII bits, I mean 7 bits. Then for H also you have 7 bits, etc., like that. Okay, we will essentially be talking about extended ASCII. Okay, so for every character you will have a byte representation. Okay, every character will be represented by a byte. Okay, so the information is stored in the form of ASCII or Unicode characters. That type of file is called text file. Okay, now the important thing to note is that in text file each line is terminated with a special character. And what is that character? That is nothing but new line. Okay, so what does that mean actually is that, for example, I have written this file, I am in India, I am going, I am studying. So what is how will the compiler interpreter know that this is your one line, this is your one line, this is your another line, this is your how will interpreter know? So actually this is demarcated, actually this is delimited by a new line character. Okay, this is known by a new line character. So you already know that new line is nothing but it is represented by a special combination of characters, which is \n. Okay, so new line is represented by \n. So interpreter will look for \n. So here you have typed an enter. Here you have, after writing I am in India, you pressed an enter. So as soon as you pressed an enter, what actually got is stored in this text file is \n. So this is actually hidden, you cannot see it, but what is coming after this particular line, after this line I am in India, there is actually \n. I will show it to you once I will taught you read lines function. So I will show you that after we have written this particular file tile.txt, then if you try to read it, then you will see that after I am in India there is a \n. Although it is not visible to you, but it is actually there because you have typed an enter. Okay, so that particular \n actually works as end of line. Once the interpreter checks it, once the interpreter finds \n, it understands that your new line begins now, that whatever is written after that is your in new line. Okay, so this is what is the meaning of that each line of the text is terminated with a new line character \n. Okay, so I hope you got the concept of text file, that it stores information in the form of ASCII or Unicode characters, and each line in the text is ended by a special character, which is \n. So after each line there is \n. So that is your delimiter. Okay, now as I told you that you can perform many operations on a file. Just now you can, for example, you can open a file and you can write something into it. Similarly, through a program you can also perform reading operation, writing operation, you can perform append operation. Okay, so all these operations are, or even a combination of all these operations are feasible. Okay, and we will perform all these operations. Okay, I will demonstrate you that how all these operations are performed on a file. Now, now let's begin with the actual of these were very theoretical things, so you might be getting bored, but they are essential, because you should, before starting file, you must know about, before starting file handling, you must know what a file is, what is the meaning of a text file. Okay, I have not yet discussed about binary and CSV files. I will tell you in detail after completing the text file, that what is the difference between these three types of files. Okay, CSV stands for comma separated values files. Okay, so I will tell you that how the values are separated using comma, and how you can perform read and write operations on CSV files, but all those things we will do later. First we will focus upon text files only. Okay, and you need to understand the theory that what is a text file. It is nothing but information is stored in the form of ASCII or Unicode characters. Okay, and then every line in a text file has a end of line, which is nothing but a new line character. Okay, so every line is terminated by, in a text file, is terminated by a new line character. Okay, now as I told you that you can perform read, write and append operation, but before you can perform all these operations, you first need to open a file. That is obvious. For example, as when I told you about this style file, so what you did, you first opened it, then only you try to make changes into it, isn't it? Then only you can do any changes into it. Similarly, in Python also, you first need to open a file, and then only you can perform any operation like read, write, append, etc. Now, what does the Python must provide some function for it? Definitely, Python provides an open function. Okay, a Python provides open function for opening a file. So as I told you that any file needs to be opened before performing any operation. So for performing opening operation, in order to open a file, you need to use which function? You need to use open function. So just keep it in mind. Now, how does open function is written? What is its what are its arguments? Everything we will see now. Okay, so let's create a new Python file, and let's give the heading file handling. Okay, now you want to open a file. So what is the format for? You first need to open the file. As I told you that before performing any operation, you have to first open the file. So how will you open it? For that you will need to use which function? Open function. Okay, so for opening a file, you need to use which function? Open function. Now what is open function? How does it work? All those things we will see now. So open function is written like this. You first you write this open, and then it actually takes, there are two arguments to it. Okay, so the open function actually takes two arguments, and these two arguments are, one is your file path. Okay, so one is your file path and another is your mode. Okay, what mode is, I will tell you. So what is file path? Obviously you need to specify the path where your file is present on your system. Okay, so how will you specify the path? For that there are two approaches. Okay, so first you just be clear that how you write an open function. You write f equal to open and then file path and mode. Now you just look at this function carefully, this open function. Okay, let me save it, and you just look at this open function carefully. It is taking two arguments, file path and the mode. Now what is file path? The file path refers to the path where the file is actually present. For example, in this case, your tile.txt is present at the desktop, so you need to specify its path. So how will you specify it? You just do copy of it. You just press Ctrl C, and then you come here and then you paste. Okay, so I will write another one. I will write here again in the comment mode, f equal to open, and then you have to write first file path. So how will you write? You just copy the file and then you paste it here. Okay, so it will automatically get reflected. C users Intel desktop tile.txt. Okay, so this is your file path. I hope you got the point. File path is nothing but the path where your file is present, the directory where your file is present. Okay, now what is mode? Mode is that, as I told you, that you can perform read operation also, you may perform append operation also, you may perform write operation also. Okay, so that you need to specify when you are opening a file. You need to specify as opposed to opening a file manually. This is different from opening a file manually. There, once you open a file, you can perform any operation. You can read from it also, you can write from it also. Okay, but here you need to be constant. You need to first specify what type of operation you are going to perform. Okay, so that is what the meaning of mode. Okay, so mode means that mode of opening the file. Okay, mode of opening the file. So it can be anything. It can be read mode also. So read in short is denoted by R. Then append, write in short is denoted by W, append in short is denoted by A. Then there are other modes also, R plus, W plus, A plus. I will tell you about those modes in a separate class. I will take a separate class for it because in itself it is a very big topic. Okay, so I will tell you in detail what is the significance of different modes, how you use them. Okay, so but for time being, you just keep this in mind that you need to specify file path along with the mode. But what happens if you do not specify the mode? Okay, the open function provides another format also, and that is that you need not specify the mode. Okay, so these are the two allowed versions of open function, but if you do not provide the mode, then by default it will be treated as read mode. Okay, so you just keep this in mind that if you do not provide mode, then by default it will be treated as read mode. Okay, R. Okay, so these two versions of open you need to keep in mind. These two versions of open function you keep in mind. File path is mandatory, but if you want you can skip mode. Okay, if you do not specify mode, by default it will be treated as read mode. It will treat that you want to open your file for reading purpose only. Okay, so let's try to open this file and see what happens. Okay, so I will open this file, open, and then I will specify the path. So sorry, I have given this path. See, I want to open this style.txt file, so I will specify its path here. Now there is something to be taken care of while specifying the path. I will come to it, but before that let me specify the read mode. Okay, I just want to read the file, so I specified the mode as R. If you want, you may not specify it. Okay, but since I am writing it for the very first time, I am writing R. Otherwise, if you want, you can skip it. Okay, if you do not provide, then by default it will be read mode. Okay, so let me anyway provide it, and then what will you do that since after you have opened the file, you can perform read operation. Okay, now how read operation is performed, there are different functions for reading also. I am not coming to that right now. I'm just telling you that the read function, there are different functions for reading, and those functions are, there is one function called read function, there is another function called read line function. Okay, and then there is another function which is read lines function. I will tell you about these functions tomorrow in detail. Okay, but today I will just use this particular read function. Okay, so read function, what it does, it reads complete content of your file. Okay, it reads complete content of your file and returns it. Okay, so if you want, you can save it in some variable, suppose s, and then how you use it, you just write f.read. Okay, I forgot to tell you one thing, that when you are writing like f equal to open this, so what is actually happening, you have specified this open function, so this function is actually returning a handle. This is also called, f is called your file handler. So f is called file handle. So this is the handle using which you are going to access your file. Okay, so these terminologies you just need to keep in mind, that this is file handle or it is also file object. Okay, so this object gets created once you call this open function. Okay, so once you call this open function, this file object or file handle gets created, and using this handle is nothing but it actually a kind of link between your program and your file. Okay, so it acts as a linkage between your this Python program that you are writing and the file that you are going to actually open. Okay, so this is your file handle or file object, and using this object now you can perform read operation, write operation, whatever you want to perform. So how you use this handle, that is important. You just write f.read. Okay, so you can use this handle in this manner, that with this handle you can perform read operation, you can perform write operation. Okay, you can perform append operation, whatever operation you want to perform, you can perform using this handle. Okay, so there is one function I am going to discuss today, this read function only. So as soon as you write f.read, what it will return, it will actually return the entire content of your text file tile.txt. Okay, so and this will be stored in this s, and now if you want you can print this s. This is nothing but in the form of a string. So everything is returned, every content of your text file is returned in the form of a string, and if you want you can print it. Okay, so just let me run this program and you can see that this is printing the entire content of your file tile.txt. Okay, So this is about read function only. I will tell you about read lines functions, all those things, okay. But here, as I told you, that you need to be careful while specifying this path. As you can see here, that here it is forward slash c, then colon, then forward slash users, forward slash Intel, forward slash desktop. Okay, in some of your system there may be that file will be specified like this. There is possibility that if you do copy path, you can specify file path like this also. In some operating systems the file paths are specified like this. Okay, now what is the problem? What is the problem if the path is specified like this? Okay, will it give error? Yes, it will give error. It will not run. Why? Because it will, you know, that the backslash has a special meaning. Okay, for example, backslash t stands for what? Backslash t stands for tab. Okay, so it will, the interpreter is not intelligent enough to understand that this is a file path. Okay, you need to specify that it is a file path, because otherwise it will treat that you want to print a tab. For example, here this is backslash t, that means a tab. Okay, so if your system is giving paths like this, backslash users, backslash Intel, then backslash t, then you just need to there are two options to overcome it. One is that you can just write r before your path. Okay, in that case everything will get sorted. R stands for raw string. Okay, so R stands for raw string. Raw string means that you are basically telling the interpreter that treat this as a string and it does not have any other meaning. Okay, you just treat it as a path, as a string. Okay, it does not have, for example, here backslash t here does not have a meaning of tab. Okay, it does not have any special meaning. Okay, so that is what is signified by this R, that is raw string. If you forget to mention it, then it will give you error. Okay, otherwise it will treat it as something, a special character. Okay, so you do not forget to mention this R whenever you are specifying the path, especially in situations where paths are written using this backslashes. Okay, so now you can see that if you run it, it will give you the correct output. Okay, so you do not forget to specify this R. Other option is that you can just double it. Okay, you can just use double backslash. Okay, instead of single backslashes you can use double backslashes. Both are perfectly fine. Okay, so for specifying the path, after having written the path, you either use R before it, you use R prefix before it, or you just use this as double backslashes. If you use double backslashes, then there will be no problem. In this case also you can see that it is giving you correct output. Okay, so it is up to you which one you want to use. I guess that using R is a better option. Okay, because you just need to mention R and your job will be done. And this is required if your system is giving paths like this backslash. But if your directory structure, if your operating system is such that it is, for example, in my case it is giving like forward slashes. Okay, so in that situation you need not to mention R. Okay, but for being on safe side, you just mention R, so that it is not treated as a special thing, it is only treated as a string. Okay, as a path. Okay, so that is the thing I wanted to mention you about this paths thing. And I will stop today at this point of time. In the next class I will tell you in detail about these read functions, read line functions, and this read lines functions. Okay, so all these three functions I will tell you in the next class. I hope you got the concept. Just to summarize, that we have started file handling today, and file is nothing but it is a bunch of bytes which is stored on some storage device. Unlike the normal data structures that you study in Python, it has capability to store your data permanently. Okay, then the three types of file that we will be studying throughout these lectures will be text file, binary file, and CSV file. And in this class we studied about text files, and I told you that text file is nothing but the information is stored in the form of ASCII or Unicode characters, and each line is terminated by a new line. Okay, backslash n, which is also called end of line, is special character. Okay, then you can perform read, write, and append operations on a file. But before you can perform any such operations on file, you need to open the file. Okay, and how you will open the file? You will use this open function. Once you specify this open function, a file object or a file handle will be returned, and using that handle you can perform your read operation, write operation, whatever operation you want to perform. Then do not forget to close your file. Okay, one thing I forgot to mention, that after opening your file, after performing the read operation, you just close your file. Okay, so it is mandatory to close a file after performing any read operation or any operation, read, write, any operation. If you are performing, after having performed all the operation, you do not forget to close your file. Okay, so that's it for today. Let's meet in the next class with the details about read, readline and readlines functions. Thank you.